She gon' go on the sound of my whistle. While she gripping on my pistol. She gon' go on the sound of my whistle. While she gripping on my pistol. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Today, we are doing our review questions 1 through 10. So, you guys should have already completed the PowerPoint on your own, and this is for you to go through and check your answers. Remember, just like we always do, if you got any of the questions wrong, just make sure you correct your answers and write down everything that I write down. If you did not miss the question and you have already shown your work on your own and you got it right, fantastic. Then you don't have to do anything but sit there and listen. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so it says, what is the decimal equivalent for the fraction 7/11ths? Remember, fractions are just division problems. That's all they are. So all we have to do is divide this. Top divided by bottom. So the top number goes in the house, and we divide it by that bottom number. 11 cannot go into 7, so we put a 0, put a decimal, and annex a 0. 11 goes into 70 6 times. 6 times 11 is 66. Subtract it, we get 4. We're going to annex another 0 and bring it down. 11 goes into 40 3 times. 3 times 11 is 33. Subtract and we get 7. We're going to annex another 0 and bring it down just to make sure. And 11 goes into 70 again 6 times. So you will see that this will start repeating itself. So the numbers that repeat are actually going to be the 6 and the 3. Because if you multiply back, 6 times 11 gives us 66, and again we'll get 4. And then when we annex another 0 and bring it down, we'll get 3 again. So again, the numbers that repeat will be the 6 and the 3. So the bar notation, which is what this line is, the bar notation goes over only the two numbers that repeat, which are the 6 and the 3. So our correct answer here would be C. You should have gotten C. Now, this is if you were not allowed to use a calculator on this problem, and if we were doing the FSA and they had this problem on there, this would probably be on one of those days where you weren't allowed to use your calculator. But, of course, if you were allowed to use your calculator, you would just put in 7 divided by 11 in your calculator and press the equal sign. Easy as that. Okay. Question number 2, it says the area of a circle is 64 pi inches squared. What is the circumference of the circle? Okay, so remember area equals pi r squared, and circumference equals 2 pi times r. Remember our r stands for our radius. So our area here, it says, is 64 pi. So, and that is equal to pi r squared, right? They equal the same amount. So this 64, since pi is already taken care of here, the 64 is the same as r squared. So then we have 64 equals r squared, essentially, right? So what two numbers, when multiplied times itself, gives us 64? We have to think about that. They have to be the same number because they are both r. So the two numbers, and they are the same numbers that are multiplied together to get 64, is actually 8. This is when your multiplication facts really comes in handy. So 8 times 8 gives us 64. So our radius then is 8. So r is equal to 8. So now we can find the circumference of the circle. C is equal to 2 times pi times the radius, which we now know is 8. And 2 times 8 we know is 16, so 16 pi gives us our circumference. Now you could actually multiply 16 times 3.14 or push the pi button if they have that on a calculator that you are using, but in this case it didn't make us do that. We just have to find the 16 pi answer, and that is A. Okay, so your answer choice here should have been A. Okay, Joey, let me make myself smaller. There we go. Joey went to a toy store. Nope, that's not a toy store. A toy show at the local community center. He bought action figures and trading cards. He spent a total amount of $34.04. He spent $4.22 on the trading cards, and he bought 6 action figures that each costed the same amount. Which equation can be used to determine the cost A of each action figure? Okay, so really, he spent a total amount, the total was $34.04. And of that $34.04, he bought the $4.22. So if we are trying to figure out how much the cost was, okay, we have to take away this $4.22 from that. Okay, and then once we have that answer, we would take the rest of the amount and then divide that by the 6 action figures. Okay, and the answer choice that gives us this formula is answer choice B. So our answer choice is B. That would give us the cost for each action figure, by the way. Okay, Jennifer was randomly pulling marbles out of a large bag of mixed color marbles. The colors are red, yellow, blue, green, and orange. Jennifer is going to pick out one more marble from the bag. Based on these results, what is the probability that she will pick out a blue marble? Well, we did just start going over probability before we left for spring break, so you guys should be at least a little familiar with this. But if we are looking at the blue marbles, that's this one. Okay, and that is 16. Our blue marbles needs to go on top. And the total amount goes on bottom. So that's how probability works. This top part is the part, and then it goes over our total, always over the total. Okay, so we need to find our total by adding all of these numbers together. So 12 plus 8 gives us 20. 20 plus 16 gives us 36. And then we have 36 plus 17 plus 11. 6 and 7 makes 13 plus 1 more is 14. 1 and 3 is 4, plus 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. So that is 16 over 64. Remember, this can be reduced. We can divide both of these by 8. If you wanted to start by dividing them both by 2, you could. You would just have to keep dividing them by 2 in order to get your final answer, your fully reduced answer here. Okay, so 16 divided by 8 gives us 2. And 64 divided by 8 gives us 8. Oh, what do you know? We could have divided it by 16. So now we have 2 8s, and we're still not done because they are both even numbers. So we know that we can divide them both by 2 again. So 2 divided by 2 gives us 1, and 8 divided by 2 gives us 4. Okay? So our answer then is 1/4, which is D. Okay, number 5. I have to shrink myself again. This is nice. I'm able to shrink myself with no issues. Okay, George was collecting brown beetles for his entomology class. The table below shows the number of brown beetles he collected per location. I could not be in an entomology class because bugs freak me out. Okay, what is the mean of the total number of beetles collected? Remember mean? We learned this in 6th grade. Mean is your average. And the average is made up when you add all the numbers and then you divide them by how many numbers you have. Okay, so we are going to start by adding all of these together. 4 plus 8 is 12, plus 8 is 20, plus 2 is 22. 2 and 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. So we have 62. We'll do it over here. And then we are going to divide that by how many numbers we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 numbers. So we will divide that by 5. 5 goes into 6 once. 1 times 5 is 5. Subtract and we get 1. Bring down our 2. 5 goes into 12 2 times. 2 times 5 is 10. Subtract and we get 2. And then we can put a decimal, annex a 0, and bring that down. And 5 goes into 20 4 times. 4 times 5 is 20. Subtract and we get 0. So our answer is A, 12.4, or 12 4/10, if we are saying it correctly. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Remember, you can always pause this video at any time or to slow things down or write things down. Okay, so this one, it says, which expression is equivalent to negative 21 plus 28x? So what I would do is I would do the birthday cake method here. Okay, that helps us find our greatest common factor. What 21 and 28 obviously have in common is 7. So I'm going to start by taking 7 out. 7 times negative 3 gives me negative 21, and 7 times 4x gives me 28x. And I'm going to go ahead and bring down my plus sign. Now, we think to ourselves, 3 and 4 don't have anything in common, but this plus sign actually breaks down into a subtracting a negative. Minusing a negative is the same thing as adding, okay? And so when we do that, we'll bring down our negative 3 and our 4x, and now they do have something in common. They both have a negative 1 in common. No, you cannot see the negative 1, but because there is a negative sign in front of both of the numbers, they do have that in common, and that could come out. So we are going to take out our negative. You can put a negative 1 if you want, or you could just put the negative sign out here. And then we would have our 3 left over, our minus sign, and our 4x left over. So you would then take these two on the side and multiply them together. 7 times negative 1 is negative 7. So that would be left on the outside, and then a 3 minus 4x on the inside. And that answer choice is D. Okay, number 7, Matthew was collecting rocks and then weighing the results of his collection. The table below shows his results. Based on his results, which statement describes the relationship between R, the rocks collected, and W, the weight of the collection of rocks per quantity collected? So what I would start doing here is I would start finding the change in your y. This is your y column. This is your x column. Your change in your y, and put that over your change in x. Okay, so right here we are adding 12 to get from 12 to 24. Here we are not adding 12. We're actually adding 14. And here I believe we are adding 22. Okay, so notice that none of these are the same. That tells us already that this is non-proportional. In order for this to be proportional, I would show you what would happen. Okay, we would have to divide 12 divided by 10, and this divided by 10, and this divided by 10. Okay, these numbers divided by these numbers over here, in order to get the same thing each time. That is what tells you if it's proportional or not. So we already see that it's not proportional because 12 divided by 10 is not the same thing as 14 divided by 10, which is also not the same thing as 22 divided by 10. So because these are not equal, we know that this is not proportional. The only answer choice it gives us that says that it is not proportional is actually B. B is not proportional. So B is our answer choice here. Okay, I would say that this is probably the hardest one on this page total because we did talk about simple interest in class. We did not get into interest in my class. I know that you guys covered it at least a little bit in your regular math classes, but this will be a good review for us. Okay, so it says that Molly placed $115 in a savings account. This savings account earns 1.5% interest per year. She did not add or take out any money from this account. How much money did she earn in interest at the end of 4 years? Now, to do simple interest, we would do the principal times the rate times the time. Okay, but here we want to find the interest that she's building on her own money each year. So we are still going to multiply the principal times the rate, which is this, times the time of 1 year, because that's what we're starting out with. We're starting out with $115 in this account, and we want to see what 1.5% interest is on this for the first year. Remember, the reason why I have 0.015 is because in order to multiply this together, you need to turn that percent into a decimal. And how we turn a percent into a decimal is we move our decimal 2 places to the left. Okay, and annex a 0 in that missing spot, okay? So when we multiply these all together, you can use a calculator to do this problem. We are going to multiply 115 times 15 thousandths times 1. And you should get 1.725, or 1 and 725 thousandths. Okay, so then the next year, we have to add this back to the amount that she put in originally, which is the 115. This is our new amount, okay, because she made 1.725 that first year. Just from leaving her money in her savings account, she made a little more than $1.72, okay? So, which is better than nothing, right? That's better than spending that money. So, this is how much she made that year, and it added to the amount she already had in there. Now we want to find we want to find 1.5% of that money. So we again do the same thing we did the first time, except for now our money is a little bit higher than it was originally. Okay, so we take that amount and we multiply it times 15 thousandths times 1. And you should get this amount. I would round this if this was me personally. I would round it to 1.750. You don't have to, I guess, but just to make it easier on yourself. Okay, and then we want to add that to the amount that she made that year. So which was the $116 and a little over 72 cents. Okay, and this is the amount that is. Again, I would round this. Okay, so now we have 118,476 maybe. Okay, and then we are going to do the same thing we've been doing. Okay, and we are going to multiply that number times 15 thousandths times 1. And this is the number we get. Again, I would round this. Since we're all going out to the thousands place, let's just keep that going. Okay, and then again, add this number to the number that she made that year. The 118.476. And you should get this number, 120.253. Or 120 and 253 thousandths. Okay, and again, you're going to multiply that by 0.015 times 1. Okay, and you get this number. 1.804. And again, I rounded that number to the thousandths place. Okay, so now I am done because I've done 4 years. Remember, it said in our problem that we are doing this for 4 years. Okay, these are my 4 years. My first year, my second year, my third year, and my fourth year. It wants us to find the amount of interest earned. Well, this column is our interest column, so we are just going to add all of these numbers together. I should do that in blue so you can see it. Add all of these together. Okay, so let's do that. 1.725 plus 1.750 plus 1.777 plus 1.80. Oops, I messed up, of course, on the last one. Isn't this how it works always? 1.8. I did it again. Ugh. 1.804. Finally, I got it in there. Okay, so we see that our answer is, and again, I would round this, which is what they did here. They rounded it to the nearest cent, which is C. So our answer for this problem is C. That one took a minute. Okay. Good job if you got that one right. That one was a difficult one. So pat yourself on the back. Excellent job. If you didn't get it right, that is okay. You're going to be fine. Okay, Sean wrote down his activities for his day 1 Saturday. Anyways, for which situation will his activity result in a final value of 0? So let's go through each of these situations and see which one equals 0. So Sean places 4 quarters in a jar of quarters, which contains 4 quarters. So it contains 4 quarters. We're adding 4 quarters. That gives us 8. That is not 0, so A is not our answer. In the morning, Sean adds 6 hard candies to a jar which contained 4 hard candies. Okay, which is 10, right? By the end of the day, he ate 10 candies from this jar. Uh-oh. So 10 minus 10, this does give us our 0. So B is actually our correct answer here. Let's keep going just to double check that we didn't get this wrong. Sean starts on the ground, and then, so he starts out at 0 level on the ground, and then he climbs 10 feet on the ladder. So up 10 feet is plus 10. That gives us 10. So that is not 0, so that is not our answer. D, Sean travels east 10 feet. When you travel horizontally, you're not changing your vertical position, right? So we're going to still say that that's 0 because he didn't go up or down any, right? He then travels south 10 feet, which means he goes down 10 feet, and this would give us a negative 10. So negative 10 is not 0, so that is not our answer either. Okay, so B is the correct answer for this problem. All right, dun dun dun. Last one. Karen, Emily, and Elizabeth donated money to the homeless shelter. Karen donated $98. Good job, Karen. That's a lot of money. Okay, Emily donated 3 times as much as Karen. This is sibling rivalry at its best, right? So she wanted to do 3 times as much as what Karen donated. So we're going to multiply that times 3, right? And then Elizabeth donated half the amount that Emily donated. Okay, so the $98 times 3 is what Emily donated, and because Elizabeth donated half of that, we're just going to divide that amount by 2. So I'm going to add them up over here because it wants to know the total amount donated by all 3 of them. Okay, so we will add them all together. So the first one was $98. Then we need to do 98 times 3. So 98 times 3 gives us 294. That's how much Emily donated. Go Emily. Okay, and then 294 divided by 2, because Elizabeth donated half of what Emily donated. That was 147. Once we have all these amounts, we will add them all together. And you should get 539. That's what they donated all together. That is excellent. They are wonderful people. I need to take after them. Okay, so I wish I had $539. You know what I mean? All right, you guys did an excellent job today. Wonderful. Hopefully this will all end and I'll get to see you guys soon. If you have any questions at all about any of these, or just in general, anything about Teams, anything you need me to know, just you can email me, you can chat me on Teams, you can video me on Teams, you can text me at that number, 850-696-7191. So I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you tomorrow. Ooh, I won't see you tomorrow. Soon. Hopefully soon. Okay, bye.